Have you just started therapy, but you don't actually know if you've found a good therapist? Maybe you're questioning if you've found the right person for you, or maybe you don't even know if they're doing the right thing. This video is going to take you through the 5 signs that you've actually found a good therapist. So therapy seems to be everywhere these days. Every celebrity seems to be talking about their therapist online. Friends, neighbours, work colleagues. It feels like everyone is having therapy. Now, I'm by no means saying that that is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's a really positive, healthy thing to go into therapy. But sometimes people go into seeking help for their mental health blindly. They don't know what to expect, and they don't actually know what makes a good therapist. So what should you be looking for in a therapist? Okay, so first of all, a good therapist will always make you feel safe. Now, this is absolutely vital, but what does safety in therapy actually look like? Well, when we talk about safety in therapy, we're ultimately talking about emotional safety. So an example of emotional safety would be where the therapist facilitates a comfortable enough environment for you to be able to share your innermost thoughts and your feelings whilst knowing that you're not going to be judged by them. Another sign of emotional safety would be that you don't feel the need to hide parts of yourself, and you don't need to censor yourself during the sessions. You just have a knowing that you're going to be met as you are, and that anything you share will be treated with kindness and consideration. A result of emotional safety would be leaving the therapy sessions feeling understood and cared for, as opposed to feeling judged and shamed. Secondly, sign of a good therapist is that they listen. Now, this seems totally obvious, but this is essential to good therapy. You should feel as though you are genuinely being listened to. Now, therapists are human, of course, and we've all got our off days, but you should feel they're generally engaged in what you're saying, and they're genuinely interested, and they're absorbing what you're talking about. So how do you know your therapist is actually listening? Well, first of all, they would look engaged. So they would keep eye contact with you. They wouldn't be easily distracted by things going on around them. So something like a car going past a window or a noise. But importantly, they would remember what you have said from the previous session. Now, as I said before, therapists are human, and we're not going to remember every single thing you've said. But you shouldn't be reminding them of what you spoke about last week, and they should definitely remember important parts of your story or significant things that have happened to you. If a therapist doesn't have good listening skills, then the therapy just isn't going to work. Thirdly, they should make you feel respected. For example, they should respect what you want to disclose and what you want to keep to yourself. While it is helpful in therapy to share as much as you can with the therapist, because then they really get to know you and they get a sense of who you really are and the experiences you've had, at the same time, you are entitled to privacy, and the therapist shouldn't push or pressurize you in any way. Fourthly, they are professional. So what does a professional therapist look like? Well, firstly, they hold boundaries. They don't treat you like a friend. They treat you like a client. So, for example, they don't share too much of their own personal life. Therapist self-disclosure is acceptable, but there should be a limit to this. You shouldn't know everything about your therapist's life, certainly not very personal, intimate details. Also, therapists are entitled to have a sense of humour, but this is within reason. You should feel as though you're being taken seriously. And at the end of the day, you're paying for a service and you deserve to be treated as such. Part of being a professional therapist is also being clear about what is being offered. They shouldn't overpromise the effects of therapy or be unrealistic about the services. And finally, they make you feel equal. Now, many therapists have gone through a lot of training. They might have a master's degree or even a PhD, or they might be specialists in a certain topic. But a good therapist will always make you feel equal. So, what does equality in a therapy session look like? Well, first of all therapists should respect diversity and treat all of their clients fairly, no matter what their ethnicity is, their sexuality, or their background. They might be unfamiliar with the client's culture, but they should take respectful interest in this and ask them to fill the gaps on what they don't know. They should never, of course, make any unkind or insensitive remarks about someone's difference, no matter what that difference is. Also, a good therapist wouldn't paint themselves as the expert in your life. Remember, you are the expert in your own life. Therapy really isn't a case of a master and a student. A therapist is not your superior. And yes, they can challenge you, but you should never leave the sessions feeling patronized or spoken down to. In fact, you should usually leave the sessions feeling as though a huge weight has been lifted from your chest. I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for watching.